Joining me is Russell Smart, Chairman of the National Scouting Museum Task Force, a part of the Philmont Scout Ranch Committee, and we're going to take our third and final look at something related to the World Jamboree. And the display that's behind me and that Russell's going to talk about was created for the 2019 World Jamboree, and it involves hat brushes, hat pins, and handbooks used both before and after World War II. Russell, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
Now we're going to get started on this. Let's talk about hat pins and hat brushes.
All right.
What are they and why do we have them?
Well, from the beginning, as you know, one of the most common headgear that has been used in scouting was created by Lord Baden-Powell himself, and that's the Stetson, broad brim Stetson hat. And that was part of many scouting organizations, still is today, all around the world. And one of the things that was helpful to identify that it was non-military but part of scouting was either a hat pin, which was normally worn on the front of the campaign hat, or on the side would be a hat brush. So those were two types of insignia that could be worn, particularly on a Stetson campaign hat, to show their person's involvement in scouting.
Now those are affectionately known throughout scouting as brown rounds.
Brown rounds,
and
right.
There's lots of them out there and people
You bet.
love them. Even I have one, my wife has one, so we've got our fair share. Now let's talk about some of the hat pins and brushes that are on here. What's the significance of the difference in the way they're manufactured and what they signify?
Well, the hat pins are typically the color or the shape or particular details might distinguish a difference. For instance, there's one shown here from the Netherlands, and there's a bronze version and a silver version. Now, I can't tell you exactly what the difference in those is, but obviously there was a need to have both styles, and so one would suspect that the silver one represents somewhat higher level of office or badge of office or rank in the organization than the bronze one did. In the case of the hat brushes, which are normally worn on the side of the campaign hat, the color of the brush material is the thing that you're looking at to distinguish one hat brush from another. And again, typically the color would indicate one of several things, either the specific part of the scouting organization that individual is involved in, whether they're working with younger scouts, older scouts, or rover scouts, the oldest level, or on another alternative might be what particular job were they serving in, whether they were assistant unit leader, scoutmaster, commissioner, some type of district or national office. So the color and the style of the hat pin could represent all sorts of different things, and does, depending on the country and the organization that it represents.
Now the scout books that are up here, as we said, half of them represent before World War II, half of them represent after World War II. How did you come about this selection, and is there anything that's common about it?
The only thing that's common is that they're all from countries other than ours, other than the United States. Both of the two, both the pre-war and the post-war sample that we have here begins with Scouting for Boys, a copy from the British movement, or British Boy Scouts, both of those Scouting for Boys. But then there's quite a variety of countries all around the world, other countries in Europe, the Middle East, in Asia, in the North American continent. We have all kinds of samples, and it's just more or less, Harold, to show the variety of the handbook and the way that it's presented, the way that it's put together, the way the cover looks. I just think they're just interesting.
Is there any one of these that hits you as a very special one or has any great meaning to you?
I like a lot the activity that's shown on this one from Denmark. As you know, Denmark hosted one of the World Jamborees, and they have a very active scouting program. And this cover that shows three somewhat older scouts, full uniform, outdoors, having a great time, that's just a great image. And we have that on our handbook as well.
Now, this summer, we're going to be doing something that we've never done here at the museum since it's been here, and that's a hands-on opportunity for people to check out various handbooks. So why don't you tell us about some of the handbooks people can see this summer?
Well, we have a few extras that didn't, we'll say, make the cut to get in the actual exhibit or frames that we have here. One of them is similar to one of the ones in there, and I wish I could speak Polish, because then I could tell you exactly what this title says. But I'm guessing that's scouting. Certainly looks like it there. And what the second word is, I don't know, but we noticed that it's Laird, L-A-I-R-D, instead of Lord Baden-Powell, but still given the credit as the originator of our scouting movement. So that one's a Polish handbook. And so people that visit, maybe somebody who speaks Polish will visit this summer,
It's
and
totally possible.
And they can tell us all about that. Another one that's kind of interesting to me is an Egyptian Air Scout handbook. And what's interesting about this one, other than the fact that I can't read it, is the symbol on the front indicating air, and then the fact that it reads the opposite direction as you and I are used to reading, because this language goes that way. So that's a very interesting one, and the hinge is on the opposite side, which is also true on the one from Lebanon. Same way, it reads the other direction there. And you know, who knows, Harold, maybe we'll have somebody visit Philmont this summer from Lebanon, from Poland, from Egypt, and they'll help us with those. And then the one I think out of this one that we're going to have out there that's really interesting is the one from Vietnam. And I just noticed as we were preparing for this video that the publication date of this handbook of Vietnam Scouting is 1969. And if we know our history, we would know that the conflict in Vietnam was still going on during the time that this handbook was in use. So that one's kind of a really interesting one, both for what it is and the date that it represents. So those will be available for people to look at, and I hope they'll enjoy it.
One of the things that I'll challenge people to do is go and look through those and find the similarities between them, because I suspect you're going to find very common, not just themes, but even symbols and ideas that translate regardless of the language.
You bet. I have flipped through most all of these, and there's sections on patrols, and we see all of our usual critters with different language, but they're still the same critters, many of them that we use in our own scouting program here in the United States.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week. Join us again as we continue to learn more about the Boy Scouts of America and our history through the collection of the National Scouting Museum and Artifact of the Week.